Alright, what is going on, PV family? It's your boy PV Crick. Got back at it again for the first time, and today I have a kind of special, kind of not, I don't know. I've been messing around with King Vegeta lately, and I played it yesterday at the Stage 0 Circuit Tournament, and I actually did pretty good. I went 4-1 with this a little bit weird of a build. I call it skillless because it's not it's not your standard red green. I always like to try different stuff, push the boundaries of ratios and engines to try to make them a little bit better. Um, so yeah, we're gonna sit here and talk about it. It's not gonna be super in depth since it's just kind of a new deck that I've been messing around with, and after the tournament I got some really solid testing in. I'll talk about it briefly after I go through the deck. So yeah, let's get into it. So we've got here's the leader and the field. For those if you happen not to know what the leader of the field does. So the leader on the front, it's one of those leaders that you play the field on the board whenever you put your leader down. So you put your leader, you put your field from the deck, and then the field will basically play these little dudes, little homies as I like to call them, thanks to my friend Rohit, who calls everything a little homie. That's small, but yeah, you play these little guys. They do a bunch of stuff for you. The field's really strong. To be honest, I think it's a little bit on the unbalanced side to some extent because like if you go first against King Vegeta, you're starting at 7 life basically. You do get to draw a card, but yeah. And then on the front side, when your leader swings, you look at the top five for a mono red Saiyan with a cost of 5 or less. So that'll you obviously want to put some of those in your deck so that you're not whiffing that all the time. The awakening conditions is something that's really interesting by this leader. It's like the set 10 future trunks, I believe, that you can awaken whenever you or your opponent has a 4 life. So you'll untap a card, draw a card, and then you'll put yourself to 5 life. And then on the back, the little dudes, they have a combo cost of 1, but on the back side of this leader you can combo them for free, which is really nice. Typical on the back, he doesn't search, you just draw one. And then probably one of the better effects is when you neg one of your opponent's cards, any card, so Unisys count 2, the leader counts 2, you get to neg 10 a battle card, which is really nice. So Young Invaders, like I said, it plays a dude at the start of your opponent's turn. You get to play something on their board, and we'll go over that, what they do in a little bit. And then you can only play red Saiyans for that turn. You can take a life and play one of them on your board during your turn, and then you can also pay 1 energy to neg 5, which will trigger your leader's effect on the backside, worst case scenario. So it's these cards already are really strong, and you should definitely be expecting, I think, this deck to be pretty high up there. I think people playing red green, it's strong, but I'm not too sure on it. It's like people playing Gohan mono green and stuff like that. I'm not very into that. That's why I have my own version. People probably just don't play this correctly either, but it is extremely strong regardless. So let's get into the actual deck now. As always, the first thing is going to be super combos. Super combos are very important to me and they matter. So here I decided to do a split 2-2 Nappa Demolition Man. They're both Nappas, and then Nappa Elite Warrior. Nappa Demolition Man is it is closer to a standard red green list if you want to compare it to something. My Texas probably would just differentiates it a little bit, but I just run 2 Demolition Mans because I do have some red green arrival and I just think it's a good card overall. It's a 20k combo basically unless they remove it. And then I just run 2 Nappa Elite Warrior mostly because it's a mono red Saiyan, so I can search it off my leader just to have more targets. And I am gonna be at 4 moderately fast. When you awaken, you do go to 5 if you're not already at 5. So then you're one life away, and then you can take a life with your field, for example, and then you're at 4. So I think this one makes more sense than the sparking one because I'm not feeling the drop fast enough for that. So yeah, that's my super combo choice. Next we have the SCR. It's just I had to pick from one of the generic ones, and I didn't really want to use that much energy, so Sin Shenron is not going to be that viable for me, I think, because it costs 2 energy. Kai is kind of the same. You don't have to spend 2 energy on it, but it'll be more valuable if you do. And then you always go back to Heron's lineage. Um, just a really great card. I mean, in the tournament, it actually won me like half, not half full. Two of my games, 2 of my 5 games were won by this card. I mean, it's really good. It's really good when you force your opponent into a situation where you know you combo out of their like unison and leader attacks, and then they're forced to go in with you on you with battle cards that are able to be stolen by this. So I think that's the best way to use this. I'm very used to doing this already because I play Green Gohan and I play the Ape SCR in that deck, so I'm very used to playing around what my opponent is doing, so that I can just when they go in with a battle card, and in that case it doesn't matter because Ape ignores barrier, but I play around that and I force you to go in with a battle card that I can abuse with my SCR. So that's my choice and why I picked it. Little homies, I run two Redis just to flex the fact that I have the promos, but I'm thinking about just going to. I'm probably just gonna go to 4 Vegetas to be honest, because there's no point in me not running 4 Vegetas. The only possible thing is if I wanted to play more than one on their board, Vegeta is unique, so I can't actually do that. I was thinking about when I played in a tournament yesterday, I played against Brandel. It was a mirror, and he actually had some of the Broly's in his deck since he didn't have the promos. So the Broly actually kind of hurts in the mirror, so at the least I would probably side it if anything. But I also probably want to keep a couple Raditz in the end because that gives me the leeway to side something like the 3-drop Goku, the blocker that can block twice. It's a really, really solid card, but yeah, there's not too much to talk about these cards. I mean, when you play them, your opponent crits a life and draws 1, and then Vegeta has the added effect of negging 5 one of your opponent's cards whenever you swing at it. Next up is the bigger homies. These are the cards that you basically play off of the little ones. I only played 2 of the 3-drop. Well, they're both 3-drops. Freaking dummy. I only played 2 of the next level. I'm just not too sure on that card yet, since there's a lot of other stuff that my deck wants to do, especially with the red-green. And I would rather be paying that energy, even if it's red for something else, paying 2 for the Piccolo. So I have 2 because it's still a good card. I like to have a lot of options on my decks. You're not gonna draw your entire deck every game, right? So especially in a deck where you can afford to be versatile, it's not as straightforward as something like, say, maybe King Piccolo, where a lot of your deck is just the engine. But I still wanted to have a couple of these in because it is just a solid card, and this one grabs any Red Saiyan. So I could pick like Nappa. Once I make tweaks to my deck, maybe I'll add some arrival targets that are Saiyans like Vegeta. But yeah, it's just a solid card. One thing I do like to note about this card, he is critical, so you probably don't want to alliance it. But something nice is if you go with Eradicator of Peace and you alliance this, it goes from 16 to 35. So it works really, really nicely with each other. And then switching gears, I actually own 4 of these. We got pretty lucky on our tournament packs. It's just a really, really good card. Like, it just cycles the crap out of your deck, and it gives you really good alliance targets for free. I mean, it's just a really good card. Like with Belmod, you know, you have a lot of like free targets. Early game you can use it to swing. Obviously, your opponent will probably try to swing into it, which is why something like Nimbus Master in this deck works pretty well. But yeah, just solid card. I mean, I feel like a lot of these cards don't really need too much explanation. Like I said, I'm just trying to run through this deck and show you guys to see what I've been working on compared to Gohan, which is kind of the main point of me playing King Vegeta. I'm just trying to test a different color leader and a little bit of a different thing, but with the same engine. See how it works compared to Gohan. I still really like my Green Gohan deck, but I like I said, I like to have options. I like to test things. I like to try to be creative and just try to figure things out. So this is what I do. So now these are like the main red green cards, and I will say really quick before anything, this is a best of 1 build. The tournament yesterday was a best of 1, so that's why you see the Masters surpassed. It was a 1 of. Piccolo Jr. was a 3 of, but I'm gonna put it to 4. I'm not focusing on it as much as like the regular red green. Like regular red green, they put Assimilate in their deck, they put Dark Rejuvenator Towo in their deck. I'm not all about that. I just think I'm running red, I'm running green. I have a red Saint, I have a red leader. There's really no point in me not running Piccolo Jr. And it's really, really good, so I might as well just throw in 4, right? But like I said earlier, I'm not gonna see my entire deck, and I don't really want to clog my deck up with Assimilate and Dark Rejuvenator Toe when I'm already doing all this other stuff. So um, yeah, he's gonna be a 4 of still. I also have 2 Champa Beers, Capricious Gods. I really like this card. I'm thinking about bumping up to 3 maybe. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to take away a couple cards if I'm gonna switch this deck to a best of 3 build, but I'm not really too sure what I'll do with the build yet. I had a one-of Master Surpass in case I went long enough and it was viable for me to play it. Obviously it didn't really come into play, but I just wanted to have that possible option. Yeah, I did have a lot of the games, and instead of Piccolo Jr., I just ran the Destroyer and the Angel Liquor. I did play it like once, and it was it was really meaningful actually because the crit hurts, and you still get to draw 2 cards, so it's kind of like a budget. Piccolo Jr. is a little bit worse, but it worked out okay. Definitely play Piccolo though when I get it. So here's my favorite engine in the game. If you know me, um, I like playing Skilless a lot. My good Green Gohan deck has a Skilless engine in it. I also like playing Blue Gohan now, which is a Skilless deck to some extent. Now I'm building King Vegeta with Skilless. Like anything I'll try to put Skilless into. I've built several decks with this engine because I really like it. Another deck that I have that I will post in the future also has a Skilless engine in it, but it's more with the 1-drops. So first, the 2 cards that really matter here are Son Goku Nimbus Master and then the Budding Hero. So Budding Hero you can play in this deck anyway without a Skillless card, because when you use your Fields effect and play one of the little dudes on your board, they come in with the skills negated, so they count as a 2 or less Skillless card. So red-green, I'm pretty sure that red-green standard builds play this card anyway. But I added Nimbus Master, which is really good. If you don't know what Nimbus Master does, you should be able to read it there. But basically, you combo it during your opponent's turn, and you can play it two cost skillless. And obviously, I have to play a Red Saiyan. Assuming that I use my leader's auto. Sometimes you won't, so you'll be able to play the other card that's in my text that I'll show later. But 4 of a Son Goten. I actually run 3 Gotens in 1 Trunks because they're foil, and my cards will be foil, obviously, because that's just how it goes. But yeah, it's really solid, And when I posted this in the Vegeta group, Giancarlo Francesco, uh, it's really hard for me to say the name with an English accent, but he left a comment giving me some feedback on my deck, which I didn't agree with very much at first, but then I got into the conversation a little bit more, and he was telling me several things. There's these heavy cards. There's clunky, looks clunky. And I understand that he was probably just trying to steer me towards a more standard red green build, Bardock the Resolute and just all the regular stuff. But once I will reiterate this a lot. You're not always gonna draw your entire deck. This deck does have a lot of cycling. You take a lot of cards out of your deck. The little homies. You start recycling them, but they still come out of your deck a lot of the time. And then Nimbus Master Ruka cards. Your Lito can probably get you a card. Vegeta gets 2 cards out of your deck, so you do cycle a lot. But again, there's a lot of cards in your deck. You're not always gonna see everything. You're gonna see different cards every game. So having the Nimbus Master, one of his things is like, well, you could play Budding Hero turn 1 and just have 2 extra attacks instead of Nimbus Master. Well, I might not have it. I might not have the green charge. I do have 8 green cards in a deck that I can charge in active mode turn 1 for that going second. But I'm not always gonna have that. It might be better to just play Nimbus Master. If I'm playing against something that's not gonna swing on my leader, like Cell Surge for example, like I did. I'll play Vegeta, swing with it, and then they're not gonna swing on my leader, of course, but they're gonna swing on my Vegeta, right? So it's really good in the situations to hold that energy. I do a lot of times I do end up charging a couple, 1 or 2, depending on how many I see. So I just play my deck as I see it and as I need to play it according to the matchup. So I'm not always going to be playing the same exact way every single game, like red green, like a standard red green might. Every turn 2 for the most part is going to be play Piccolo, Alliance, Awaken, Overwhelm Toa, restand Piccolo, swing Alliance again, like do all this damage, and then just hit them with a super gas. So I just like to have options, and that's how I build my decks. So while I do appreciate the feedback, um, I would normally appreciate if it's worded as something like a question or stuff like that, like everybody else on the post did. So, you know, I always like to discuss though. I always get really good ideas, and he still gave me good ideas. I do forget about cards sometimes, even though I have a very good knowledge of this game. Um, so yeah, I had forgotten about the Resolute. I might throw that card in my deck now, a couple. But yeah, as for the Skilless engine, next slide. So for my negates, I ran 3 Imposing Presence. This card is amazing. I freaking love this card. Since it's best of 1, I was actually running one of the Ganos Bird of Prey card. I have it around here actually. Let me grab it. Where is it? Here it is. This one, the Ganos from, what is it, DB2 from Ganos, the 5-drop. Since I was playing Skilless, but turn 4 for the Master Surpass was already kind of a stretch even for a best of 1. So I just ended up deciding to take it out, and I put in a second topo, and it actually, funny enough, it actually saved me one game when I had it. So it did its job in a best of 1. We know what all these cards do, and I run 2, also 2 testing the opposition. I had it at 3, but I bumped it down because I do cycle a lot, so chances of me seeing 1 is okay. But I have 7 negates in the deck. I'll probably see 1, hopefully, which I didn't into Self Surge in the last round, which was very unfortunate. But Imposing Presence is really good, especially when you're on your backside. It'll trigger the leader's effect. Topo stops turn unless they counter it, pretty much. Really good. And then testing the opposition is just insane. When you awaken, once again, when you awaken, you go to 5, which is the point where testing the opposition is enabled. So you can awaken, be safe, take a life for your negate, and then your super combo's enabled. So it's just really good. There's a lot of stuff you can do. I really like this engine in this deck. So to get into my techs, here we go. Okay, so a lot of people had questions about this because you're playing these blue cards in this deck. Well, it's only 2 Janemba, which it's only 2 of each of this Janemba. The Janemba skills is also still really easy to play. First, if you don't use your leader, your Fields Auto, you can play that off of Nimbus Master really easily. And normally I'll just play it off of the Great Time, and during my turn I'll play it. And then if you have 3 or more energy, you can play Bewitching Blow for free by bouncing the Janemba back to your hand. It's just 2 free critical swings. Like to me, somebody that's played this Janemba engine a lot in my Green Gohan deck, there's absolutely no reason for me not to run this, because if I'm going to run Skilless cards anyway, especially if I dig them out of my deck or drop area, there's really not going to be any harm in running 2 of this into the other one. 4 blue cards is really not going to do very much to my deck, and I haven't noticed that in my testing and what I do a lot here in my house. I personally don't like untap very much. I'll still test once in a while with my teammates and stuff, but I also just don't really like playing against randoms because I just like to get better quality testing personally. It's just me. So I have my I actually have my deck here. I'll just sit here and I'll shuffle blah blah blah, and I'll sequence the deck. And it helps me see my sequencing, and helps me see the consistency in my deck a lot. So I do that a lot more than I'd probably like to admit. But yeah, I really like these cards in my deck. Funny enough, I actually didn't get to really play it in the tournament, but it's just because I didn't really see the Bewitching Blow, unfortunately. So the fact that I went 4-1 without seeing it and those 2 free crit swings gives me a lot more hope about it. Maybe I need to bump it to 3. I'm not sure yet. It's just a matter of testing at this point. And then Path to Power. Considering I'm putting Piccolo up to 4, I'll say this right now, I'll probably take Path to Power out because essentially they're both 2 energy, and Piccolo is just better, to be honest, for 2 energy. I will probably side Path to Power though, because in something like a green matchup where, Dormant, Shocking Deathfall exists, Piccolo loses a lot of value because they can get rid of it really easily. So Path to Power, it'll only get hit by Frieza in the green matchup, which if they do hit it, it's whatever. I use my 2 energy and got their 1 counterplay out of their hand, instead of drawing out like a negate that they really don't have to use very much for. Your Frieza matters a lot, but negates maybe not as much. But Path to Power is one of my favorite cards, to be honest. As soon as it got revealed, I'm like, wow, I'm putting this into my Green Gohan deck immediately. You play it for 2 if your leader's a Saiyan. Your leader has 2 more energy, and you have to have 2 or more skills battle cards in your drop area, but that's really not too much of a requirement. 25 double, and then it plays 2 or less it costs, no, not 2 or less. No, yes, 2 or less, and it gives it 5k when it swings. When it swings, you play from your drop rate, and it gives it 5,000 power. It's just a really good card, and it costs 2 energy. It's super freaking good. So, and then these are not really techs, but I didn't really know where to fit them because they didn't really fit with any of my slides. So I just, I slotted them here at the end. So I play 4 Belmonts purely because I just need green cards to charge. I wasn't really sure what to run. I considered running Infernal Villainy Cell because it's a combo card, but I think that would have been a little bit too clunky. So I'm just like, screw it. I'm just gonna put Belmont to 4 and probably just charge 1. And it's really good. You get a lot of free plays, like the switching gears comes down for free. Like a lot of your cards come down for free or for like 1 energy, so it's very easy to set up Belmont. And then SS4 Bardock Fighting Against Fate. Everybody knows this card. It's super solid. You know, 2 25k attacks for freaking free. That's super solid. The better thing in a red-green deck is that you can actually rival Champa Beerus and give it double strike because he does fall within the 6 or less threshold, but it's just, oh my god, it's so good. I was considering, like, even with how great this card is, I might test switching it to the other Bardock, the Awakened Instincts, draw 2, discard 1, and maybe throw in like the Beerus. There's a lot of stuff I could do here. Since I'm an aggro deck and I'm playing red green has a lot of versatility with what it could do. But yeah, this is a deck. This is what I've been working with. Just yeah, try not to go super deep into it because it's going to be changing, and I'll post updates to it as I go. As I test it, I'm going to be trying things. I won't post every single update, but when I find something that I am satisfied with and happy with, I'll definitely post that somewhere, whether it's a short video or a post. But yeah, that's the deck profile, guys. I appreciate you for watching. So if you're gonna stop here, if you're not gonna listen to the rest of it in the tournament recap, I appreciate you for watching. Thank you very much for supporting me, and I hope that you do leave a like and consider subscribing for more DBS content. I do plan on making 3 to 4 uploads a week probably, and just continuing this hard grind. I'm not in the best position with my internet and some of the other stuff, but my highest priority is making great content that you guys are going to enjoy and get really helpful stuff out of. So however I can do that, I will make sure that I can do that. So let's move on to the tournament recap now. So stage 0 circuit, I know that a lot of people juggle around with the legitimacy of online tournaments and webcam and stuff, but like huge shout out to my boy. I always shit talk him a lot, but just because I love him, Brian Brown, Android. Amazing job running these tournaments and just having the availability. They are free, so if they are in a weird time, and I know he's been trying to figure out some stuff with that, but if you can join them 6 p.m. Central on Wednesday nights, great tournaments to get into. Personally, I don't really enjoy doing 5 rounds starting at 6 p.m. But especially if you live in like the East Coast, that's 7 p.m. Just great tournaments. My boy Robert and Devin, if he's there, streaming them. Just overall really great quality. And there are very good players that play in this. I went 4-1 in this tournament, and it was not easy. I had to play well every round, especially against the mirrors, because I'm very scared of mirrors historically because my green Gohan deck always lost the mirror because my deck was a little different, and the full gas like Bum Rush turn 2 always killed me. But let me stop dilly dallying. Let's get right into it. So round 1 I played Mario. He had green Ginyu. I'll be honest on this one. I'm pretty sure that I only won because I saw my imposing presences. That deck is very oppressive. It can just set up such a huge board super fast, and you can get it very easily. Your leader reveals the top and plays a card, and with Goldo you can like shuffle those, not shuffle, but you can set it up to where you will have that free play. Helix Strike, green yellow I believe. Helix Strike will let you find those cards, and then Raccoon plays something, and then you have the expansion card that's really solid. When it hits you early in the game, you're gonna play another card. Like, it's just overall solid. Let me get water. But yeah, the only downfall, I guess, my deck is that they're all 15, so it's like, I go with Imposing Presence, and then when he wanted to swing anymore, he just had to minus them 5, and, you know, swinging 10 into 15 when you don't have very many cards in hand because you're playing all these cards just really hurts. He stole my card, and then he used that stolen card to play the Body Snatcher, which did give everything 10. So that turn I had some trouble, even though I Imposing Presence. So in the end, I had to. I don't think I had to. I could have comboed out probably, but I did win the game because I used Lineage on it. So it was a great game. I was quite stressed about it. I'm not even gonna lie, because I know how oppressive Green Ginyu can be. So, but I ended up in the top. It was a great game. Round two, I played against Brandel C, who has done well in the tournaments before with Blue Baby. He was playing the red green gas version this time around. You know, I actually almost died on turn two when he went full out, but I managed to combo out of it, and from there on out, I just kind of out resourced them. You know, I was at one life, um, and the next turn he did have. I messed up at one point. I did an Imposing Presence when I needed to, but he did have on the next turn he had Balmod into Champa Beers, and he almost killed me again, but I barely managed to combo out of it. And yeah, you know, yeah, those mirrors are a little bit rough to explain. There's not much to explain there. It's like you go in, you don't win. Okay, well you probably lose after that if you didn't win then. So, but yeah, it was a pretty straightforward match. It was great regardless. He played the Broly on me, and it messed me up a little bit, but not enough. Round three was against Android 13. It was somebody that I played last week. Where he played cooler, and I actually lost to him at the last round. And it was a close match, man. Like, hand destruction is rough, I think, for a little bit for King Vegeta, especially for me who doesn't have Piccolos, because I don't necessarily plus that many cards. So he was sitting here making me discard cards, and it was rough, but I ended up winning it because really I just got the combo I needed for my life. He made me discard down to 0. I played well enough um, with the cards that I knew I had in my hand, and I knew I was gonna have to discard. But it just came down to that. I drew a 5K combo off my life. I was able to combo it, and then he had like all the extra cards in his hand, so he wasn't able to defend afterwards. But it was, oh my god, it was a super close game. Okay, next up, round four was another mirror. It was kind of the same deal, but he did drag it out a little bit more. He played very well. He drew it out. He had like 3 Nappa super combos at one point. He was using his Fields effect very efficiently to get rid of my cards. Bardock the Resolute restood when I used negates, and it was rough. But at the end, like I said earlier when I was explaining Heroin's lineage, I put him in a position where he was forced to go in on me with the Piccolo Junior after he. So what happened is he played Piccolo, he swung with it. I testing the opposition, went down to 2 since he was gonna burn me anyway. Played the token, and then he had already swung with his leader, and I out comboed his first Bardock swing, so his Bardock restood at that point, and I made sure that I had done all of that because if I was gonna win that game, I absolutely needed him to overwhelm Towa and restand Piccolo to go in. So he did that. He played Belmont, KO'd my 7-man blocker, and I'm like, okay, he's definitely planning to go all in. So he did. He swung with Piccolo, went all in. I stole it, of course, and then on my turn, I still had to make sure that I played everything correctly because he did have an energy up. So I swung with my, I forgot what it was. I swung with something. I comboed, and then he did have Champa Beerus, so he KO'd it, and I'm like, okay, well, good. He can't KO fighting against Fate, but in case he had like Imposing Presence or something in the end, and it just came down to me stealing the Piccolo Junior. I played that match well enough to win it, and then round 5, I didn't even notice this until afterwards, but I played against Moy. I don't know how to pronounce the game in English, but like I'm just gonna call him Moses. Forgive me if that's wrong. But Moises, he's the one that won with Salt Surge this past weekend at the Core TCG event, I believe it was, and I I wish I main decked a couple Deborahs because it was just really rough. He like starting turn two, turn two, three, and four, like he had Ribriands every single turn. I was discarding two every turn, and then well, not turn three because he played Dark Broly on turn three, but he was gonna Ribriand me like almost three times in a row. Turn two, turn four, and then turn five. It wasn't even the deck necessarily. He still played it very well, and he did what he needed to. But honestly, it was just the Cell Surge effect on the back, making me play everything on rest mode. It's just it's really rough, and he was able to get rid of my like 6 card board because of Android 13. Android 13 Arrival and Dark Broly Unison gets rid of like 3 cards for free. And then my Vegeta switching gears, they're only 10Ks, so they're not hard to swing into. So he got rid of all my board, and then I tried to stall those 2 turns. I tried to look for negates, but I never drew any negates. So when he started swinging with those double strikes, I had to take them. Unfortunately, maybe I could have played a little bit different. Try to combo out of them and drag the game out a little bit longer potentially to just live past the 2 turns that I can't play cards really. And yeah, it was a rough game. I think in a best of 3, I would probably be able to win against it. And then maybe if I'm more careful in the best of 1 and I learn the matchup a little bit better, I'd be able to do it. So that was it. I ended 4-1 with the deck, giving me 12 points in the circuit. Last week I went 3-2, so that's 9 points and then 12, so 21 points total. I think I'm looking pretty good to get into the top 16 box tournament. So yeah, guys, that was it. I hope that if you were interested in this deck and just learning maybe about King Vegeta overall and how I do things, I hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments, whether it's here on YouTube or on Facebook, where I will probably post this. And if you'll, or even feel free to DM me, ask me questions. My messages are always open to you guys. I will never turn down any questions or any even deck ideas if you've got anything. I do plan on creating a little series soon where I just go over. Like I said earlier, I like to build a lot and be creative. So I'm gonna start posting a lot of those decks that I build that are not necessarily meta, but maybe like little rogues, like fun stuff to play. I'll call it like trash tier or something. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please consider to like and subscribe this video to support me if you would like to do that, and I would really appreciate it, regardless of whether you do that or not. I appreciate you watching my videos, and yeah, thank you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.